Hey, welcome back to the shop. My name is Eric, and today's discussion is going to be basically on back orders. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank all you guys for all your comments and stuff. Some of the things that we as shop owners overlook the obvious, you know, you guys are letting me know, so you're helping me out a lot too on, like, the one thing was getting the front of the shop cleaned up and look more professional. That's obvious, but I always didn't have enough time to do it, so I took time, and for that I thank you. So what the hell's going on with back orders, and why is it worse now than it ever was? See, a lot of your distributors got stuck with a lot of parts. A lot of your manufacturers got stuck with a lot of parts. And how do I mean stuck with a lot of parts? Well, if you're a business owner and you're selling retail, that means selling parts. The last thing you want to get into is new old stock. As the machines become outdated, it's so what ends up happening is if you're buying too much stock every year and you have some left over that didn't sell, you will hope like heck it'll sell the next year, right? Well, that's kind of what happened to the manufacturers and the distributors. They got stuck. And how did they get stuck? Well, they pre-order. They have buyers that know exactly, they're not stupid. They have buyers that see trends and how much to carry on hand to keep all their dealers where they can get the part in a reasonable amount of time. So where's the issue? Well, the issue is the manufacturer and the distributors got caught blindsided, just as us shop owners got caught blindsided with China selling direct to the consumer for less than what the distributors, dealers, us, could even get the parts for. So why is that important? Because the key to running a shop is you want to keep enough stuff on hand so the customer can come in, get it, and go, right? And a lot of us do preseason orders, and some are $60,000 to $100,000 in parts that some of the dealers buy. My feeling is that a lot of your manufacturers, a lot of your distributors, and now a lot of your dealers got stuck with a lot of parts that no one's buying because they're buying, our consumer, the customer, is buying them online directly from China. Yeah. Because that's the biggest problem with any business, is you don't want to have a large overhead of parts. And most of your shops, at least in our area, changed over. They hired, I know with the John Deere dealership, good friends of mine, the owners are, they hired one guy to come in and liquidate all of the old inventory that was there. And why did he do that? Well, because nobody wants to be sitting on inventory you can't sell. And that's taking up space of stuff that would sell. But that brings us back to the chain from the manufacturer, distributor to the dealer. Everybody is sitting on a ton of parts. And why is that? Well, it's because China is now going to our consumer, the people we sell to. It's not that we don't have the parts, or the distributor doesn't have the parts, or the manufacturer. It's the parts that everybody's got is what's being undercut through eBay, Amazon, what have you. So now these guys that did preseason orders of 60 to 100 grand on stuff that sold well the year before aren't selling stuff. And if they do, and your customer has any kind of savviness of how to use a freaking computer and go online, they're going to look at your bill and they're going to say, well, I could have got the same carburetor for $19.95 on eBay and you're charging me $50-something for a carburetor. So my feeling is a lot of shops out there, our distributors out there, and the manufacturers out there are going to have to figure out what to do with the excess inventory that nobody's buying. And you got two ways of doing it. You got one, liquidate it. Let it go for a little bit of nothing. And I mean, if I were a distributor or manufacturer, I'd say give it to the dealers at less than cost. Just get rid of it. But now if you're a dealer sitting on 100 grand in parts, what do? Well, you got a choice. You can either sit there with a bunch of parts on the shelf that you can't sell, or take the hit and liquidate and let them go on eBay for what the guys from China. The only good thing with that is that, you know, if you're buying it from China, you're waiting 6 to 8 to 2 weeks to 3 weeks. If they're buying it from somebody in the U.S. like us, you know, we sell on a number of online venues. We're shipping the same day that they're ordering, except on Sundays. But I will package and ship up stuff on a Sunday for Monday morning's mail run. So that brings me back to the John Deere dealership and the guy they brought in. And what did he end up doing, implementing for the John Deere dealership? Well, first thing was he got rid of a lot of that stock. And he found a company that basically they deal in just new old stock. And he was able to sell the bulk of their John Deere parts to this company, you know, at cost. So that put money back into the budget that had been just sitting there. And then they implemented a new policy that said, okay, we'll carry so much in fast-moving parts, but everything else is going to be, we'll order it as the customer needs it. In other words, customer comes in and wants to buy a radiator cap. Now, John Deere carries a ton of different radiator caps and different temps and stuff for each model. And there's no way they can stock all of it. So in that case, when I asked about getting 2 radiator caps, they said we don't have any in stock, but we can order it for you. And that's how they've changed. And I'm seeing other repair shops change as well. And I think that's where the trend is going now, is instead of us sitting on a lot of inventory, that we're having to tell our customer that we can order it, have it in here within a couple days, versus sitting on a lot of stock and get burnt again. Yes, you dealers out there that spent $60,000 to $100,000 in preseason orders got burnt. You distributors out there buying hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory got burnt. Who gets the blame for it? Personally, in my opinion, it goes back to the manufacturer going overseas with all their manufacturing and giving the Chinese an open book to how to produce the same technology, the same specs, the same everything else that you've come up with. See, most people don't realize is in China and Russia and some other of those countries just like that, they don't allow open expression. They don't allow creativity. They don't allow individual thinking like we have here in the U.S. What's so big about that? Well, it's because if you don't have all that abilities, then you're not going to get great ideas. You're not going to get advancements in technology. You're not going to get all the stuff that the U.S. is getting. So what do you do to stay relevant? You either steal their technology or allow the manufacturers to give you their technology in exchange for setting up shop there and getting cheap labor. That's the biggest key that most people overlook, is that Russia and China will not come up with new technology and advancements on their own. They have to steal it from somebody else because they're not allowing their people to be creative, to be self-thinkers, individual thinkers. They're not allowed to think. So it goes back on to the manufacturer as far as I'm concerned. They started the ball rolling, and you guys that are dealers and you guys that are distributors that got stuck with a lot of parts that you're sitting on because you have no sale, that's who to blame. You know, I feel bad for you guys because it's not right, but what do they say? That's business, right? That's what's going on, because the distributors, the manufacturers, and the dealers didn't get the money back from the parts that they bought last year that are still sitting there. So now they don't have a big budget to go out and buy in bulk again to get more parts in that are being asked for. Does it make sense? You know, in a way, I feel bad for a lot of these manufacturers and distributors and stuff. But the minute the manufacturer decided to get in bed with China, caused what's going on today. Back orders aren't there because the manufacturer didn't plan right. It's because the manufacturer and the distributor and the dealer are still stuck on parts that they bought last year and the year before that they can't sell. And they can sell if they want to take a hell of a hit and lose a lot of money. But you have to make a choice. Take the hit and get it behind you, write it off if you can, or let it sit here on the shelf and hopefully somebody eventually will want to buy it. But again, they're probably not going to want to pay what you're asking for it. So a lot of you shops out there that are watching our videos and stuff, let me know what you're sitting on. Are you sitting on a back order or backlog of parts that you can't sell? Even you distributors out there, you're more than welcome to chime in. You know, but I think that's what's really going on. They don't have the money to get in the new parts. Thus, now you got tons of back orders because those parts aren't there because A, they don't have the money to buy the parts to put them on the shelves. So they're buying it as customers need it, as dealers need it, or as distributors need it, versus having thousands on the shelf to go out. On that note, you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.